My name is Sam. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager at Fairygodboss. Fairygodboss is the largest career community for women. Our mission is to improve the workplace by increasing transparency, and we offer a ton of free resources like anonymous company reviews, job listings, articles, virtual recruiting events, and so much more to help you succeed throughout your career. Before we get started, we will be taking questions at the end of today's webinar. You'll find the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to leave questions throughout the presentation. You can leave them as yourself or anonymously, and we'll get to as many as we can at the end. We're also recording today's session, and we will be sending it out in a follow-up email along with Susan's contact info. So if you have any questions about that, don't worry, you'll get it to your inbox by the end of the day today. Here with me today is Susan Bernstein. Dr. Susan has been a career coach to high-achieving professionals since 2001. She provides expert guidance to mid to senior level professionals to help them boost their career satisfaction and amplify their success. Thanks so much for being here today, Susan. Over to you.
It's such a total pleasure to be with you. Thanks, Samantha. I super appreciate you doing that great intro. And welcome, everybody. I'm super excited to have people from, looks like, all over the country, representing some places like California, where I'm from, DC, where I used to live, Chicago, where I worked. So lots and lots of other places. So super big welcome to everybody. And I'm so thrilled to share with you how to feel confidence from head to toe, no matter what. So if you've never been on a webinar with me before, hi, I'm Dr. Susan Bernstein. And I want to help you become more self-confident because I experienced, and still do, a ton of self-doubt and hesitation. And I've learned a few things along the way. So what if you could break through hesitation and self-doubt? What becomes possible for you? And I just invite you to think about that question. If you could, I don't say get rid of and never feel hesitation and self-doubt, but if you could break through it, if it was a gateway to something better for you, what becomes possible? And just imagine that for a moment. And then I'd like you to ask yourself, in this moment, right now, how confident are you in your career? Are you at a 1? You're not confident at all, you're super anxious, you're self-conscious, you're hesitant, or you're super confident all the time at a 5. Where are you now? So I'm going to invite Sam, will you open up the voting just so I can get a sense. This is anonymous. I don't get to see your personal results, but I'd like to see where this group is right now. So if you take a moment and just vote, that would be great. And then I'll wait for Sam to share with us what the results are. Okay, so this is coming back. Well, we've got the majority of you, 38%, right in the middle. Somewhat confident, not always confident. 1% of you super confident almost all the time. Okay, are you teaching? Do you want to come teach? I love that. I'd love you to share your ideas in the chat. If there are things that, by the way, if there are things that you are doing to help yourself feel more confident, go ahead and share them. We can all benefit. 13% of you say you're not confident at all. You're super anxious. You're self-conscious or hesitant. Well, today's for you. And the same 27% are at a 2. 22% are at a 4. So this is really great information. Thank you so much to all of you for sharing this. So my intention with today's experience, and I'm going to give you some things to do. So my encouragement is to make sure you have paper and a pen or a pencil to write with. It's a great idea. I know we all like to type. It's a great idea. There's a greater alchemy that happens when we handwrite. So if you can handwrite and take some notes for yourself, that would be great. So my intention with today's experience is to support you to radiate head to toe confidence, even when you're under pressure. And I work with a lot of mid to senior level female executives, managers, professionals, leaders who are under the gun all the time. They have to make presentations. They're pitching for money for their startups. They're dealing with a board of directors who may not be in alignment with what the rest of the company wants to do. So they're feeling this pressure. But even under pressure, you don't have to cave. You can radiate this head to toe confidence. I'm going to share with you how to do that today. I don't know why this is really interesting. Wow, I'm missing graphics here. I don't know where they've gone. That's very strange because I checked this deck before we went live, so I don't know exactly what's going on. But I would ask you this question to start. Where in your career do you lack confidence? And I'd like you to write that down. So maybe you lack confidence when you're making presentations. Maybe you lack confidence when you're using a specific piece of software. Maybe you lack confidence in an interaction with a particular person at work. I'd like you to take a moment now and write that down for yourself so that you actually get to use today to think about, to experience things about where you might want to deliberately, intentionally boost your confidence. And knowing the specific places can also help you to zero in and not just feel like it's that confidence is some big general thing, an amorphous thing, but something specific that you can zone in on. So I'd like you to write down where in your career you lack confidence. And if you have multiple places, that's okay. I'd like you to prioritize for yourself what's most important in your confidence that you'd like to build. Which of the things, if you wrote down more than one, which of the things would you most like to work on today? You can, the good news is Sam said to you, you're going to get a copy of this recording so you can watch it again. I'll be able to click a link and watch it. So you could do this process, the things I'm going to share with you again with anything else. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I just have my one and only turn. No, you're going to be able to come back to this information. So my agenda with you today, so I know what's going on. All my background slides aren't showing up. So there's all these nice graphics behind us, nice looking photos that for some reason aren't showing up, but I'm not going to let it blow my confidence. And I'll be able to share with you a specific example of why not. Okay, so today's agenda, we're going to talk about what is confidence really. If that's what we're going to talk about today, we may as well know what we're talking about. What are some myths and misperceptions that might be holding you back from feeling confident? These myths and perceptions alone, in blasting through them, have helped so many of the clients who I work with, whether they're in a Fortune 50 or a startup, or they're in the medical industry, or they're in tech, it doesn't matter. These myths and perceptions happen to so many of us, and blowing through those and knowing that they're a myth or a misperception can help you to regain your confidence. We're going to look at how you can cultivate greater confidence. I'm going to share with you, if you want more support, what you can do next with me. And I have a special free gift that I'll be sharing at the end of today's presentation as a way for you to go deeper with this, as a way for you to get more support for free. So it's a special gift that you'll be able to take advantage of today for watching. And then, of course, as Sam mentioned, I have time for your questions because this presentation isn't for me, it's for you. I really want to benefit all women, and it's why I'm so thrilled to be able to have this audience be with you here on Fairygodboss. I just really think this community here is tremendous. So what is confidence really? I'm so bummed. I just have to say there's some great images, but so be it. What is confidence really? I believe confidence has two key components. There's competence, and then there's a belief in your own ability. So competence is the ability to do the things you need to do in your job. Like, I have zero confidence at brain surgery. I would not try to open up anybody's brain. That sounds horrible to me anyway. I have no confidence in that. I have okay competence at Excel. Actually, I have very good competence at Excel. I don't care to use it very much, but I can do financial modeling with the best of them because I learned it and I had to really work my way through learning how to use Excel. There are lots of things that you have competence at and you don't, that's the ability to do something. And I think it's really important to tease that apart from the belief in your own abilities. So when I was in management consulting, I thought my Excel skills were terrible. And it's so much of that had to do with what I was telling myself about it, my own belief in my abilities. I could do it. And maybe I wasn't the fastest or the most amazing on the planet, but I could do it. So one of the things that's vital for you to separate out is, do you have competence? Can you do the basics of what you need to be able to do your job well? And then, are you believing in your own abilities, or are you sabotaging that in some way, telling yourself something negative about your own competence? So something that I would invite you to think about, the discovery question for you, is which one of these do you struggle with more? And I would love to see if you're willing to share in the chat, which one do you struggle with more, competence or a belief in your own abilities? So if you're willing, I would love to see in the chat just to get a sense of, where are people here? Is there something, I mean, if you're really new on your job, it's likely that you deal with competence issues, right? But more often what I find is that women struggle with beliefs in their own abilities. So there's some competence showing up here, but yeah. And some people are honest, a mixture of both. Thank you, Stacy, for your honesty there. Yeah, so you're in the right place. I can't teach you specific skills like Excel or presentation skills right now, things like that you'd want competence at, but I can help you with your beliefs, which is actually the more important place. That's what helps give you it's a piece of what gives you head to toe confidence. So let's talk now about myths and misperceptions that might be holding you back from feeling as confident as you'd like. Myth number one is prepare, and always know your stuff. Always know your stuff. Yes, you need to know the basics of your work. Oops. And you also need to know how to handle uncertainty gracefully. So I have women all the time say to me, hey, I'm good at what I do, but I don't know how to answer my boss's questions. My boss is always asking me something and I'm never fully prepared. And here's the thing, the more senior you get in leadership, the less it's about having the right answers and the more it is about knowing the right questions to ask. So if you always think around your boss, oh God, I have to super hyper prepare and they're going to be mad at me if I don't know the answer, what you need to do is learn ways to handle uncertainty gracefully. Like, oh, I'll get back to you on that. Or what a great question. I'm happy to investigate that. Or it'll take me about 2 hours to dig up the answers on that one. That's the graceful thing, so that you don't always feel like you have to know everything. I work with a lot of high achievers, and if you are a high achiever, it's likely that somewhere in school you were like, I got to get the right answers. I've got to be the A, not just an A student. I got to be the A+ student. You over prepared for everything. You're used to like, I've got to have everything nailed down. I have to do all the preparation. And there's only so much preparation that you can do in life. Like none of us prepared. No, none of us knew that coronavirus was coming. Yes, there were people who said that that's likely if they worked for the CDC or something like that, but they didn't know exactly, how something would come about and when it would come about. But being able to respond gracefully is the more important skill than having all the right answers, especially because we live in a time when we can't have all the answers and we have the Google. And one of my friends calls it the Google. I think it's cute. Like the answer machine. And my mom, who's in her 80s, I will constantly say, Mom, you could get the answer to that. You could just go Google that. And she kind of laughs and giggles. She's like, there's this answer machine, and she loves it. So yeah, it's not so much about knowing and preparing super hyper well and knowing that everything is going to work out. It's much more about being able to be graceful when things don't work out or they're uncertain. So yeah, my question to you is, do you tend to over prepare? And if you do, this presentation's for you. I'm a recovering over preparer. Is that the right way to say it? So myth number 2, people who look confident have it together more than you do. That's a myth. So it's super important to watch out for your own perceptions of you and assess yourself graciously. So we think that people who are so smooth and suave and have it together, just, you know, like, why didn't I learn the things that they learned? But this is so much more about what I'm going to be getting to, head to toe confidence, and how to embody that. That's the hint, body. That, you know, if you look at somebody who looks like they have it together, it's not just their outfit. You've seen people who wear great outfits, but they're slouchy and they're, I don't know if I can do this. Yeah. I'm teasing around a bit, playing with a little bit of a character. But yeah, the looking confident clearly these days isn't about what you wear. I mean, we only showing everybody, you know, just the top part of our body anyway, for the most part, right, on Zoom, because that's how we're all interacting right now. So your confidence has to do with what you tell yourself and how you see, like, whether you tell yourself, I'm doing the best I can right now, versus, oh my God, I'm really, really messing up. This is terrible. Oh, I wish I had done that. I could have done that. Wow, I could have done that. Oh, there's so many ways I could have been better. That's so hard on yourself. People who look confident have it together, or have that together, because of what they're telling themselves silently. Because they've learned to either dial down the negativity or dial up the positivity, but they come to a place that's more balanced. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. So, do you tend to compare yourself to others? That's an answer for just you. I don't want to embarrass anybody here, but it is something that we tend to do. And it's one of the most toxic things we can do to ourselves. So my invitation to you is, if you tend to compare yourself to others, learn that to look at yourself and say, am I being good and gracious and kind to myself? What could I do to build confidence with myself? I love that Lee says, I'm learning to say, I made the best decision with the information I had at the time. That absolutely can limit your self-talk. That's a great one. Myth number 3, you need to be confident all the time. Yikes, that's a lot to ask of yourself. So it's natural to have ebbs and flows in your confidence. It's like the ocean. The ocean, I live in San Diego, the ocean does not go out all the time. Otherwise, we'd have these enormous beaches, and I don't know, the water would be in Japan. Where would it be? So it's like the tides that come in and out. And it's, you know, it's very meaningful to me to be able to see that change, to know that there's an ebb and a flow. And so my reminder to you is, it's natural to have these ebbs and flows in your confidence. You're not going to always, you know, go up, 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 up. And you're also not going to always go down, 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 down in your confidence. So if you're okay, if you get comfortable riding the waves of your confidence, then you can just be like, today's one of those, you know, out days, or today's one of those in days, and just ride those waves. And learning ways to respond when things don't go well is essential. So instead of trying to always do things right, like, I need to be right, I need to be, that perfectionism, that what's important is striving to repair well. So it's like in a relationship. It would be lovely if in our relationships, whether at work or whether at home, that we always got along with everybody. But we all have different points of view, different perspectives, so we're going to see differently. And sometimes we're going to unintentionally step on people's toes or offend them. It's not about trying not to do those things. What's more important is the repair work that we do. So it's also not about always saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry all the time. It's saying, wow, next time let me do this. Or saying, wow, I really, my intention was to have X happen with us, and my impact was really different. Please forgive me. learning those kinds of things to repair a relationship, again, whether that's at work or whether that's in your home or personal life, it's the repair work that's essential. So please, don't always try to do things right. I think a lot of us, again, coming from a high achieving background, what I find is that most high achievers, you tell me, you can drop in the chat if this is a yes or no for you. You're in school and you were always getting the right answers, and you got stars or you got accolades or you got awards for that. And so you've learned to just expect that, right? I mean, that was certainly me when I went into the working world. I was that A+ student who was constantly trying to get things right, but the working world doesn't work that way. And the rest of the world really doesn't work that way. So yes, if you're one of those people who is always the academic striver, and now you're like, wait a minute, the world doesn't work this way, what your job to do is to learn to repair well. Okay, so my question for you to noodle on, to think about, is do you tend to get down on yourself when you lose confidence? That's actually the practice that you can change, is if you lose confidence, to recognize, oh, I'm just having an ebb and a flow, and to be kind, in fact, kinder to yourself. So I had a day yesterday, I was so excited about a potential client project and woke up to an email saying, we're really sorry, but we're not going to be able to move forward. And I was so disappointed. And I, for a moment, lost confidence. I can't even say for just a moment. It wasn't a minute or 2 or 3. It was a few hours of being bummed and, well, maybe I'm not good enough came through my head, I'll be honest. But I know enough that this is just an ebb. Okay. And then I could just be like, all right, what would make me feel good right now? And I wrote in my journal, that makes me feel good. So you can find practices that instead, when you start getting hard on yourself and losing confidence, do something that feels good, that's nurturing, that's good self-care. It's just an easier way to have this all happen for you. So now we're going to talk about the 4 places from which you can generate self-confidence, 4 elements that I see as self-confidence. So those are your mindset, what you're thinking about. These are all things that you have control over, as opposed to the outside world, which you and I don't have control over. Your emotions, now you may not control immediately what you feel with them, but being able to dial up or dial down some of an emotion and knowing what those emotions are signaling you is essential. Your spirit, how you feel on the inside, and the sensations in your body. Like what? Whoa, hang on, what? Sensations? So this is the most novel one, and it's the part of self-confidence that for me has been a game changer. So in 2001, I went back to school for first a master's and then a PhD in mind-body psychology. And it blew my mind. What I discovered is that if you want to change your mind, it's often hard to use your mind to change your mind. It's a little bit like, a dog chasing its own tail. That's hard. But if you want to change your mind, drop your attention down, take the elevator down into your body and pay attention to your sensations. So I'll be talking more about that and using your body awareness to generate confidence from the inside out. So I'm going to talk about these 4 dimensions, starting with mindset. So here's the important thing. You do not get to control what others say to you, but you do get to decide what you say to yourself. That's really essential. So here's the thing that I want to invite for you. This is a chance for you to write something down. When your confidence is low, what thoughts are you repeating to yourself? Write them down. So do you tell yourself, I'm an idiot? I hope not. Do you tell yourself, I should have got that right? What are the things that you say to yourself? What are the thoughts that go through your head? And just catching them, just writing them down, this one act can start to change things for you. Because when we have that awareness of our own thinking, then we have the ability to make a shift. So if you're comfortable, I would love to know some of the thoughts that you repeat to yourself. This is totally okay for you to be private too. If you're comfortable sharing in the chat, I bet you're going to have other women who are on today's webinar saying, me too. But for me, for sure, you're not doing enough. Yeah. All right. So not enough is a big one. I'm a fraud. Yes. Thank you, Sydney and Angel. Yeah. Let's see if I can keep up. Lee, I want to give up and run away. Yeah, that feeling. You don't know what you're talking about. You say to yourself, maybe I'm not good enough. Fraud. I'm a fraud. I'll get frustrated. Yeah. Imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, by the way, it's said that virtually everyone will experience it sometime in their life. And that has a lot to do with comparison of what you expect you should be and what you actually are. And it's in allowing the life experience. It's kind of like that ebb and flow, that tide. Some experience has come to me. It's meaningful for me to take it. But there's a lot, I'm not smart enough. There's a lot of things that come out. I'm not enough of something. Or the flip of that, your confidence may get eroded when I'm too much of something. Gosh, I'm too bubbly, I'm too talkative, I'm too fill in the blank, right? So, so those are the things that typically come up for us. But here's the thing. I'm going to share with you one of the most essential things I have learned about mindset. Don't believe everything you think. Sometimes we don't think thoughts that are on purpose for us, that are helpful for us. Thoughts can come up, but we don't have to hold on and latch on to them. So when you have these thoughts, start to notice that these are thoughts that come up when your confidence is low, and that you have the opportunity to do a turnaround with them. So what do you wish someone would say to you in those moments when those things come up? So if it's, I'm not smart enough, would a friend or somebody you loved say to you, you are plenty smart, or you are dang smart, right? If somebody says, if you say to yourself, I'm not going anywhere in my career, would a friend or a loved one say to you something like, I see you going places? Or maybe someone would say, you're just having a little setback. They would say something soothing to you. So my invitation to you here is to write down what someone else would say. And this is a great one to pop in the chat, because you're going to give everybody things that will be helpful to them. You've got this. You're doing everything in your power. Everything else is out of your control. Yes. You've got this. Oh, that's beautiful. You've got this, and sincerely mean it. Thank you, Latrenda. That's beautiful. Just a little blip, move on. Positive affirmation, you're worthy. Tomorrow is a new day. This is temporary. This is all you. You worked hard to get here. You will recover and conquer. Breathe. You're smart and accomplished. You just haven't gotten your break yet. It's okay to feel this way, but you'll get through this. These are beautiful things. Thank you all for sharing these. And I just keep seeing them trickle down through the list. So please, if there's something that grabs you, take that on for yourself. These are some wonderful things. Amazing things are ahead. You're a rock star. You belong here. You have a track record of success and impacting others. Superman pose. Oh, I love it. Boom. Yeah, power pose. We'll get to that in a sec too. Anyway, so you want to practice balancing out the negative. So here's the thing. We think that we have to, that we're never supposed to have negative. It's really about coming to a place of balance. So here's a crazy thing about the mind that I know from one of my mentors, Dr. Rick Hansen. He's a neuropsychologist, and he says that without training, that's the key part here, without training, for negative experiences, our brain is like Velcro. It just, latches on and holds on tight. For positive experiences and memories and things, our brain is like Teflon, slides right off. Not very helpful, right? Well, in a way, it was really helpful to our ancient ancestors 10,000 generations ago, when they, lived a much more scary, dangerous life, right? They had to worry about animals. They had to worry about the weather. They had, the elements. They had so much more to worry about. So yeah, their brains needed to be attuned to negative things. But we don't live in that environment anymore. And most of us live a healthy, balanced, safe life, where the basics of our lives are taken care of. If you're not, that is a concern, and it's harder to stay positive when you don't have things like food and shelter. So that is true. But if you have the basics of food and shelter, safety, then he says that essentially with practice, and especially with meditation, which I recommend for a lot of my clients, and there's lots of different meditation techniques, and they don't all have to be sitting on a mat, conscious walking meditation, breathing meditation. There's lots of ways to meditate, but doing that can help you get to the positive and to that balanced place. So my invitation to you is, when you feel negative thoughts, write them down and then counter those, balance those out with positive thoughts. That's where you come to a place of neutrality. In the Western culture, we tend to, oh, neutral, that sounds banana, that sounds boring, like vanilla. Some of you might like vanilla, and I happen to love vanilla, but it might sound bland. But that neutral place is balanced, and it's where we can see opportunities. So my encouragement to you is practice balancing out the negative. The next piece of head to toe confidence is your emotions. And the key thing here is that you're less likely to lose confidence when you know how to respond to emotions. So I'm going to talk about the 3 biggest emotions that can throw us off, especially in a workplace. So I'll talk about the emotion and what it's signaling to you, what it's trying to tell you. So when you feel anger and noticing that you get red hot, or you want to hit something, you want to break something, that's a signal. And the signal is that a boundary or an expectation has been violated. Like one of your employees, let's say you're a manager, and one of your employees keeps coming late to work. I'm angry. Yeah, that boundary, or really in this case, the expectation that you will be at work by a certain time, or you'll be, available to be working these days. Most of us are working from home. I mean, it may not physically be in the office, but hey, you're going to be starting to answer your emails, be available for a Zoom call or a phone call. Yeah. Or a boundary's been violated. There's an expectation that's been somehow missed. And that's important to know so that you can fix the boundary, or you can reset the expectation and have a discussion with somebody about that. So just knowing what these signals are trying to let us know is essential. Next one is sadness or disappointment. We don't tend to get sad at work unless, let's say, a colleague leaves. If there are layoffs, that's a time when people will feel sad. But mostly we feel disappointed, like, oh, I really wanted that promotion and I didn't get it. Or, gosh, I've been working for 9 months on this new product and our company decided not to do it. I'm really disappointed. You might even feel angry too. Sometimes there are blended emotions. But what sadness and disappointment signals for us is loss. And the important thing to do when we experience loss is to allow ourselves to grieve, to notice that we've actually lost something, and to be with ourselves about that. So it might be that you write in a journal, or you talk to a friend about something that's disappointing, so that you can process that disappointment and regain your confidence. And then finally, fear or anxiety. Fear is, if I'm getting technical, I'm trained in psychology, so fear is usually in the exact moment, and anxiety is a worry about the future. But when we have that signal of fear, or generally anxiety, it's that we're anticipating a negative outcome. So there are 2 things that you can do at least for anxiety. One is to plan for that negative outcome. So if you're, if you're in a job search and like, wow, I really, really want this job and I made it to the final rounds, but I'm a little nervous, you might leave your process open and not close things off with the other companies that you're interviewing with, for example. And the other thing to do with anxiety is to give it expression, is to do something active with the anxiety. That might mean if it's a job search, you can't go call somebody up and go, you have to give me the job. That would just be weird. I do not recommend that. That's not what I'm doing. But what you can do is like, I'm going to go for a run and get this anxious energy moving in some other way, right? So you want to take action. Anxiety is a call for planning and for action. So I would ask you which emotion in yourself or in another person trips up your confidence most. And if you're comfortable, I would love to see that in the chat, just to learn a little bit about who's here and what you're dealing with. Yeah, anxiety. It's anxiety. Yeah, that's the one that tends to trip up our confidence the most. So for some people, yes, anger for some people. I get angry and then I lose confidence because I don't know what to do with that anger, or that anger is not acceptable, or I feel like it's not acceptable. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. So interesting. Now the background pictures are showing up again. That's weird. Okay. So about sensations, this to me is this really cool place. And in the gift that I'm offering, I have a chart that will help you to look at your sensations or practice with noticing your sensations in a particular way. And I found when I share this with my clients, they have a depth in their sensations that helps them harness that inner confidence. So I have a saying that if you want a sensational life, pay attention to your sensations. Much of what we deem as I'm not confident is actually our body sensations. Like we feel shaky, or we feel queasy, or we feel cold, or we feel tingly, right? So I would ask you, when you're not feeling confident, if you're comfortable doing this, drop in the chat, what do you tend to feel in your body? Do you know, what's something, or you could think about something you've lacked confidence with recently. Do you get a knot in your throat, a stomach drops, tightness in my chest, fidgety, sluggish, upset stomach, cold, knot in stomach, restless, shaky? I'm sorry if I'm not catching everybody's. Cold in the back of my head, sense of dread. I would ask you, Crystal, with that dread, what is it? Where do you feel it in your body, and what's it like? Is it tight? Is it loose? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it a moving sensation? Is it a stay in place sensation? Is it prickly? Right. So yeah, these are all great. So here's one of the most important keys, I think. This is like the cheat sheet, if you will, how to cheat about your confidence. And it's not really cheating. It's how to stay confident even when you're nervous. Is staying present to the sensations can help you weather difficult situations. What we want when we feel the heart palpitations or the stiffness or that knot in the pit of your stomach or the knot in your throat, whatever it is that you might be feeling, when we feel that, we want it to go away, right? It's like, who wants that? And so the thing that you want to do is to actually stay present to the sensation as objectively as you can. So like right now, I'll be straight with you. I get a little nervous with this. So I feel cold in my feet. And so I'm going to get curious in a moment, for a moment, and be like, where is that coldness? It's actually colder closer to my ankles than my toes. My toes aren't so cold, but closer to my ankles, yeah. And it's deep inside. It's not very surface level. And it kind of moves in a happy little like boing, 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 boing. Just doing that right now, narrating that. Now I'm narrating that out loud. I don't recommend you do that when you're in the middle of a Zoom call out loud with your clients or your boss or somebody in a meeting. But staying present to the sensation and just noticing it can help you to be like, I'm present right now. Because here's the thing, the part of your brain that does rumination is when you repeat a thought again over and over and over again, like those not confident thoughts. I'm doing a bad job. I'm messing up. I'm not good enough. When you ruminate, the part of your brain that does rumination is inversely correlated, the opposite. It's like a lever with the part of your brain that focuses on sensation. So if you want to dial down rumination, dial up sensation. And I don't know who this is. SAO is asking, how do you stay present to a sensation while focusing on the conversation? Practice. So practice in times when you're not in a meeting. That is not the best ideal place to start because it's first of all, it's public. Second of all, you haven't done it before. But I would say, so here's one of the things that a lot of my clients are anxious. and they have, many of them have insomnia. One of the things that I've recommended is a great bedtime practice is if you're experiencing insomnia, to lay there and notice what you do feel in your body. A lot of people who have insomnia will say, I don't feel anything. I'm like, how do you know you don't feel anything? What's the absence? Where is that absence of feeling? That gets them curious. So if you don't have a partner, you can do this out loud and be like, I feel my left shoulder pressing into the pillow. I feel I feel my fingers against the silky the silky part of my bed, like the silky sheets. And be able to do that. If you have a partner, don't do this out loud. You'll drive them crazy, of course. But you want to do this as objectively as possible. Not, oh, that stupid shoulder injury. Why does that have to be there? I hate that. Why do I have to be in that stupid car accident? Ah! You don't want to do that. You just want to be as present as possible, describing those to yourself. So if you practice this in times when you're not under pressure of paying attention to your sensations, you'll find that when you are under pressure, you can just kind of drop your attention down and give yourself it's like a little note, like cold feet. Okay. And I don't have to make it mean anything. I don't have to do, what you don't want to do is interpret or give meaning to it. It's just the noticing. That's all. That alone can start to shift how things are for you. So I would like you to recall a time you lacked confidence. And if you can, think about what sensations you notice in your body from that. Can you let them just be there? What happens when you just let them be there? So this is a form of labeling. Yes, Lee, it's labeling. And it's really this is a self-discovery activity. So I can't tell you exactly what will happen for you, but what it's meant to do is it will help you to reduce rumination and that worry about, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not whatever enough, or I'm too much of something. It will reduce that worry over time. It's something you practice, and in a way, this is a form of meditation. It gets you really, really present to what is, because when you're anxious, you're worrying about the future. When you can also go backwards and think, oh God, I should have done this, I should have done that. That's regret. So with regret and anxiety, the answer is to get present. And the easiest way I know to get present is to pay attention to your sensations. And that's why I believe if you want a sensational life, pay attention to your sensations. So I was super fortunate. My PhD program, in addition to being academic, was also very, very experiential. And we got to spend time with a teacher guiding us to experience our sensations. So like walking outside with the grass and noticing what we felt in the grass, or passing an object, right? And really feeling the object and noticing where it landed in our hands. There's a way of, when you get really attuned to your sensations, it's like you're just with yourself in a much deeper way than if you're just always up here thinking. So this is experiential. I welcome you to let me know how this is for you if you practice it for a bit, and what this does for you. Finally, your spirit. So again, this is the fourth of 4 elements to create head to toe confidence for yourself, and you can use any of them or all of them in whatever ways make sense for you. If there's one that's a favorite, go to it. So spirit. You'll be more confident when you intentionally radiate your spirit. So what do I mean by that? Whoop. Interesting what's going on. Why is this not letting me go forward? Whoop. Okay, that's very strange. The graphic that's supposed to be there isn't, and the text isn't. But here's one way to think about this. When people talk positively about you, they say, you're so blank. What's that blank? What's the fill in the blank? And if you're comfortable and you'd like to share with others in the chat, I would love to know. You're so, and it's a good thing that you're like, oh, I love hearing that. Right? For me, it's like, you're so bubbly, or you're so spunky, you're so thoughtful. Yeah, beautiful. Bubbly, warm, friendly, energized, caring, thoughtful, funny, friendly, personable, kind, inspirational, articulate, creative, great energy, kind, sure of yourself, kind, positive. These are beautiful, smart. I mean, like, who doesn't love these, right? So imagine that this is like something that you could push out, the way that like if you spray perfume or essential oils, right, and they diffuse into the world, what if you could radiate that spirit about yourself? So here's the thing, you fill in that word, you're so, and then imagine that you can radiate that first and most importantly to yourself, and then second to others. What if you could do that? So when you're standing there in a meeting and things aren't going as well as you think, you remind yourself, you're so, and for me, one of the words is bubbly. And I imagine radiating the bubbly around myself. And for me, it's helpful to have a visual. So I see bubbles. And then I'll be like, all right, I'm going to spread bubbles. This is all happening in my imagination. I don't bring a thing of bubbles with me, though that would be really fun to bring, bubbles and a wand and blow that. But I imagine that. But, how could you radiate your outgoing or your positivity or your motivation? What's something that you might imagine so that you have your own special, it's like an elixir that you can distribute first to yourself and then to others just through the energy of your spirit. So this is something that you can bring to your practice of head to toe confidence. So working with your mindset, working with your emotions, working with your sensations, your body, and working with your spirit, and using any or all of those in whatever combination, but having at least one that you start to take home as a practice and start using for yourself. So I would love to know if you would share what's something you want to remember from today's webinar, and for yourself, please write that down and post it somewhere where you'll remember it, and make it a practice for yourself for the next 30 days. So if you're comfortable doing it, what's something you want to remember from today's webinar? Be physically present, beautiful Wendy. Don't believe everything you think, wonderful Juanetta. Barbara, you are worthy of the world. Move from rumination to sensation. Great, Bridget. Veronica, believe in myself. I wish I could capture all of these. They're moving fast on my screen. Find ways to release anxious energy. Counteract negative thoughts with positive thoughts. These are beautiful. Don't forget how good I am at what I do. Wonderful, Stacy. I love hearing reading these. And so I want to wrap up. I'm going to get to questions for a moment, but I promised a free gift, and here's how to get the gift. And this will go up on the next screen, and Samantha will also send these links, I believe, to you. So my free gift to you is something called How to Have Sensational Confidence. It's a guide and also has 2 confidence boosting videos. Well, I'm very fortunate that this graphic showed up. You'll be able to opt in to get this. So you can get it by going to bit.ly/confidence video. So bit.ly/confidence video, all lowercase. You don't have to have the HTTPS piece there, but bit.ly/confidence video. Opt in and you'll get 2 videos from me plus this guide on more ways to have sensational confidence. I think you'll enjoy that. Samantha is asking you to drop your questions in the Q&A, and I'll get to those in just a moment. For those of you who might be, whoa, my whole last one is just gone. If you want to work with me, I'll put that slide on the next one. But I would love to know your questions. So you can get the guide from me at bit.ly/confidence videos. If you're struggling with confidence at work and you want support, for the next 2 weeks, I'm offering consultations for Fairygodboss attendees to, if you want to talk about coaching and potentially working together, if you go to bit.ly/confidence FGB for Fairygodboss, you can sign up for a free session with me. And I also really welcome you to connect with me on LinkedIn. Please, please get on LinkedIn, find me at Dr. Susan Bernstein, and tell me that you were on the webinar. I'm happy to connect with you, and I go live twice a week. In fact, I'm going live right after this about how to lead from the heart, having the confidence to lead from the heart. So sometimes I have a guest, and sometimes it's me. Yes, make sure that videos is plural in the link. I did not know that video takes you to a baseball website. SAO, thank you for saying that. It's definitely plural. I love it. It says not found on my webpage. All right, so if you message me, I will also happily send it to you. So you should be able to get to it. So I'm happy to take your questions right now. So Samantha, I'm on, I'm ready for y'all.
Thanks so much, Susan. That was a great presentation. And just a reminder, you can leave questions right now in the Q&A. You can leave them as yourself or anonymously. We'll be sending you all of these links directly to your inbox. So if you can't find it right now, don't worry. You'll get that link right in front of you and be directed there automatically. So we had a question come in from Wendy. Wendy asked, what are alternative language options other than I'm sorry that might have more of an impact?
Oh, wow. Other than I'm sorry. All right. So I'm a big believer in don't apologize. Like, unless you really, really harmed somebody, I'm sorry isn't necessary. That's essentially saying I'm wrong. And I hate to see anybody negate themselves. I mean, if you stepped on somebody's toe, literally, yeah, it's nice to say I'm sorry because you've literally hurt them. But in general, you haven't harmed somebody. And the difference is between your intention, what you intended to have happen, and the impact, what actually happened for somebody. So the best thing I know to do in those kinds of situations is to say, wow, that must be really blank for you. That must be really tough for you, or that must be really disappointing for you, or that must be really frustrating for you. Things like that. Then what that allows the other person to do is say, no, actually, it wasn't like that. And then you can let them tell you. But they're more likely to say, yeah, that was frustrating, or that was, exasperating, or whatever. And then you can say, follow that up with, tell me more. You just open the door with the words, tell me more, for them to tell you whatever is driving them crazy. Your job is just to listen. It's not to take it in. They may be really angry or upset. It's not so much to take that in, but to just understand what their experience is. And then if there's something that can get changed for the next time. So let's say you got your boss needed a report and you got it to them late. You can say, let's fix this. What do we need to do to ensure that this gets done on time? So you take the proactive spot of looking for how to be helpful as opposed to waiting and making yourself wrong and saying, I'm sorry. So hopefully that's helpful to you.
I think that's great advice. Also, if you're trying to remove the words I'm sorry from your vocabulary, like altogether, one of the most helpful tips I ever heard was in an email, every time you go to write I'm sorry, like for a delay or anything like that, switch it to thanks for your patience. You're thanking them, you're making them feel better, and it's one of my top tips. So simple, but a great change.
Yes.
A question here from Heather. How can you recover in the best way when someone, quote unquote, knocks you off your horse in a presentation, basically gets you off your rhythm?
Yeah. So first of all, that happens. It's like an ebb and a flow, and somebody knocks you off. You can say, hey, I just need a moment. It's okay in anything to ask for a moment. So, hey, I just need a moment to regather my thoughts. If you're really lost, you could say, hey, I got so wrapped up in what we were talking about and so passionate that I feel a little lost. Could somebody help me out here? If you make it about being passionate or caring so much that that's why it happened, then people are not going to be like, you're just some distracted person. Look, it happens, and especially right now, it's happening. I hear it all the time that it's very hard to spend most, if not all of the day with your clients, your coworkers, your boss on a screen. So yeah, cut yourself a big lot of break in the situation and ask for the help and support that you need, and without feeling abashed about it.
Perfect. Latrenda asks, do you have any ideas for pushing out concern of what others think of your leadership skills, style, ability? She's always wondering what other people think of her.
Yeah, I have a very weird suggestion. My clients have told me you're the queen of weird questions and the queen of weird ways to address situations. So if you tend to go look at yourself and be like, am I doing it right? And, is this right? Put yourself outside of yourself and put the most compassionate version of yourself outside of yourself. So imagine that you could clone yourself and put yourself outside yourself. What would that compassionate version of you say to you? So like you don't know me most of you don't know, none of you know me, I don't think, in person. I'm 4'10", and maybe I'm not even that tall anymore. Maybe I've shrunk. I don't know. I'm this tiny little thing, but I put the tiny me next to me. I don't need any minier version of me. But I imagine Susan saying to Susan, "You're doing a great job. Hey," and using myself to find what's amazing in my leadership. And something else that you can do that's outward is to notice different kinds of leaders. Like, isn't Michelle Obama a really different kind of leader than even her husband, right? They live in the same family, they're married to each other, but Michelle and Barack are not the same, right? Their leadership styles are different. I love, watching smart science related women. So like Angela Merkel is sciencey and a politician. Her leadership is really different than other people. So it's like looking and seeing and celebrating that difference. One of the things that can happen inside of a company is that we can get a little too homogenous. And it's one of the reasons I think it's so important, among a lot of other reasons, to have diversity in a company. Because otherwise we get homogenous and we don't see opportunities because we don't have different perspectives. We need those different perspectives. So, if your company is too homogenous, then maybe it's a time that you see yourself as the person who's intentionally there to shake things up, to bring a new perspective. But look, we all lead differently. We all bring our characteristics differently. What can you start to do to celebrate that, to celebrate the differences and in the ways that you like to lead? So hopefully that's helpful to you.
Love that. And then I guess we'll wrap it up here with one last question from Jennifer. She asks, what is the best response when your boss asks, what do you consider to be your professional weakness, without the answer being detrimental to your career? That's a good question.
Ooh, when your boss asks you that versus that you're not talking about in an interview situation.
She said a boss, but I guess if your answer can apply to both, that would be helpful.
So I actually think it's different in an interview situation. If your boss is asking you for your weakness, I think it depends on how trusting your relationship is with your boss. If your boss loves developing you, then you can tell them what that weakness is. But here's the thing. I always tell people, don't give away your biggest weakness. Like, that's personal. Like, that's the thing that you get to work on with you. Give them something moderate in size, but tell them always what you're already aware of, that you're already doing to shift it. Why? Because that lets your manager know two things. One, it lets them know that you already see the problem or the issue or the challenge. So if you know that you have that for yourself, if they know that you're aware, it makes their job easier than having to go, excuse me, do you know you have this thing going on that you don't know about? That's embarrassing, the same way it's embarrassing to be like, you have spinach in your teeth. Like, that's like, nobody wants to have to say that. And the people who do, we often are like, oh, thank you, gosh, wow. So one is noting that you already know, and two is, what are you already doing about it? That lets your manager or anybody else know that you're already taking steps. And then you can invite them to say, I would love to know what else you suggest I do about this. So what you don't want to do is, well, let's see, I tend to be late in getting projects in, so I made a calendar, right? That has attitude. You don't want to do it that way. But like, yeah, I've been a little disorganized. I know that I could really be working on my organizational skills. And I got this special calendar software, and I'm taking an online class to learn to be more organized. That's what I'm doing so far. Hey, what else do you suggest I do? Boom, you just invited them into the conversation. So you let them know that you're self-aware, you let them know you're on it, and you invited them to help develop you further. So hopefully, you can put that into place, and hopefully that response will be meaningful to you.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Susan, so much. That brings us right to time. And thank you everyone for joining us today. As I mentioned, you'll get the recording as well as all of these great links in an email in your inbox later today. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will catch you at the next one. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.